Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Mr. Kevin Kane. I'm the Director of Guidance at Woodbridge High School. And I just want to welcome all of you to Woodbridge High School today, especially those who students attend JFK and Colonia, as this presentation was open to the entire school district of any students who were currently in grade 11 or grade 12. So what I'd like to do is just explain what this evening is about. You can answer questions at the end of the presentation or even during it if something comes up. The PowerPoint presentation that is going to be given will also be posted online, so feel free to take notes, but it will be posted online sometime this week. Probably on all three high school websites, but I know for sure I could speak on ours. It'll be up on our website sometime tomorrow. So I'd like to introduce Tricia Mayers from HESA, and HESA stands for the Higher Education Student Assistance Authority of New Jersey, and she is going to present to you the same type of presentation that we do every single year. Tricia?
Good evening, everyone, and just to echo Mr. Kane, thank you very much for coming out tonight. And are there any 12th graders in the room? Okay, well, congratulations to you, class of 2022. And for the parents in the room whose children are graduating, congratulations. You were there the whole time, so congratulations to you. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, beautiful. So just a little bit about myself. I'm a consultant for HESA. On my personal note, I've worked in higher education for over 13 years at both the community college level and at the four-year level. So there's been a lot of changes, even for parents who might have been to the presentations before with the pandemic, and you've heard a lot of bills passing, laws passing. There have been some changes on what is available for students starting in fall 2022. So as Mr. Kane said, please don't feel like you have to inhale everything and get it tonight. This is probably some stuff that you're going to want to go over because there's a lot of new offerings that they're providing starting in fall 2022. So even before we get started, I just want to make sure that you become familiar with this logo, because whether you get it in a regular mail through the United States Postal Service, comes in your mailbox, or if you get an email, anytime you see something from HESA with this logo, you want to make sure that you read it thoroughly, and more importantly, that you respond, okay, as soon as possible. Okay, so who is HESA? So the official name for HESA is the Higher Education Student Assistance Authority. We use the acronym HESA, and it is the only state agency with the sole mission of providing students and families with the financial and informational resources to pursue their education beyond high school. So we're not saying that there aren't other agencies and organizations out there, but this is the only state one, okay? So when you're getting something from HESA, they're representing the state, and they're the ones that are communicating with you, the state of New Jersey. So for the students and the parents in the room, you're going to, when your child goes off to college, you're going to have this whole new vocabulary, even for those who attended college themselves. You might remember the term bursar, dean, provost, all these terminology that you don't really hear during high school. But one of the departments that's very key to your academic journey is the financial aid office. It doesn't matter if you're at a community college, a four-year college, a big college, a small college, it doesn't matter. All of them have a financial aid office. And basically, you want to make sure that you become familiar with them, and don't be scared. If there are concerns that you have, if there are questions that you have, these are the people that you want to reach out to, because when you submit all your information to FAFSA, they're the ones who get it, they're the ones who review it, and they're the ones who are going to finally give you your award letter. So you want to make sure that you communicate with them. So what are the goals of the financial aid office? Their primary goal is to assist students. So once again, don't hesitate to communicate. They assist students in helping you figure out how much monies are available to pay for college. They're going to evaluate your family's information, financial information. They're going to distribute the resources that they have. Unfortunately, they are limited. And they're going to kind of equate or calculate as a family what you're eligible for in the balance of gift aid, which is gift money that you don't have to give back, and self-help aid. And then more importantly, they also have to make sure they're following federal and state regulations and laws. So just going over the types of aids, when we're talking about aid, we're talking about aid from the federal government. So that's aid coming from Washington, D.C., and then there's aid coming from the state of New Jersey. So when we do your FAFSA, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, that is the federal application for monies. So what happens is parents, they get excited, oh, I did the FAFSA, they kind of like, we're done, we made it, they lock out. But you have to remember that after you do the FAFSA for the federal funds, you need to complete the state application, okay? Because the FAFSA allows you to see how much money you're eligible for from the federal government, but the state application sees what monies you're eligible for right here. Yes? Mm-hmm.
Is that including if you're going to college out of state?
So when it comes to state funds, that only stays in New Jersey. If you're going out of state, that monies are not there. However, families do like to do it, not everyone, but some families still do it just to see what school is offering the most money, because that might make a decision, be a component of your decision making. So it doesn't hurt to still do it so that you can make an informed decision for the family. And then you can also get monies from the college or the university itself, and then also outside organizations. I know for me personally, in high school, I got it from the local Women's Rotary Club. It was on the guidance counselor's door. I applied, I got it. And one thing I'll say to students, make sure you take your thank you card, so every semester or every time they send you that check for your tuition, you can just say thank you, because it does come in handy and you are appreciative. And then also for parents, your employers might have funding for your children to go to school. So we're going to go through the types of financial aid. The one that everyone loves is grants, which we also call free money. You get it. There might be some eligibility requirements of your academic requirements or the academic rigor that they expect you to adhere to. But once you are done, you don't have to pay the money back. You say thank you and you keep it moving. Scholarships, likewise, most of those are free. Once you meet the requirements that they have set, you say thank you, you get your degree, you keep it moving. When it comes to loans, though, those are monies that you do have to pay back. And just a quick question, does anyone know how quickly you have to start repaying the loans after you maybe take a pause or stop? How quickly they come knocking at your door?
Yeah, 6 months?
6 months, yes. So you said graduate, but that also says that you decide to take a semester off or a year off. Any pauses, 6 months after any pause, they will be like, okay, they want to start talking about repayment. So when it comes to loans, of course, it's an option, but you also want to make sure that you are taking out what's needed and don't put yourself in challenging long-term positions. And also employment opportunities. I'm sure everyone see the for hire signs everywhere that you look, and some of those jobs will make payments towards your college. Me personally, again, on a personal note, in college, I worked at Robert Wood Johnson in New Brunswick. I went to Rutgers. I worked there on weekends and every other Friday, every other weekend, and they paid up to 6 credits every semester. As long as I got a C or better, all I had to do was turn in my grades and they would give me repayment for that. So there are a lot of options, creativity, talk to people and see what is out there. So the net price calculator, this is something that you should be seeing anytime as you're doing your research of the different institutions. Every institution should have a net price calculator. What was being heard a few years ago where parents and students were getting their tuition bill and they're like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this. It was kind of a sticker shock to them. So what they did a few years ago was to mandate that all college institutions have the net price calculator, where you as a family, the students can go and have, it's not an exact amount, but an honest estimate of how much it would cost to go to the institution. And that is based on you attending full-time, working on your first degree, and being an undergraduate student. So right now, these are the award amounts that are presently being given to students if they're eligible for these particular grants. So looking at the federal grants, as of the 2021-22 school year, if someone is eligible for the Pell Grant, that is, they would get up to $64.95. Please note that this is split in half, okay? So say you get the maximum amount of $64.95, you would get half for the fall semester and half for the spring semester, okay? Because that's how the school year is broken up usually at the college level. So any monies that you see here, say you were getting the maximum amount, that would be split in half for each semester. You have the SCOG grant, $4,000, the Teach grant, if there are any individuals planning to go into education. This is a grant for future educators. That's $37.72. And hopefully, as you see in the bottom, these are subject to change. Hopefully they'll increase with time. But these are the numbers right now. Yes?
Oh, those grants, if you get $64.95, that's for just the first year of college. What about second, third, and fourth?
We don't know. That's why you do your FAFSA every single year. Yes. Because, situations change or circumstances change. So that's why you have to reapply every year. Okay? So those were the federal grants. And now we're going to take a look at the grants and scholarships available at the state level. So this is where I said there's a lot of information, but again, you will have access to the PowerPoint. So the tuition aid grant, which we'll call TAG moving forward, for all of these, you have to file the FAFSA. Many times families might want to kind of guess or have a conversation, but no one knows. I can't pull out a calculator and calculate what's going to happen with your finances. Each of the institutions have a database. Your FAFSA is released to them, and they're following whatever federal formula, and that's how they let you know or notify you how much monies you're going to get. So, yes? I'm sorry, can you speak a little louder?
Younger siblings that are not going to college.
Yeah, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Do you get affected, do younger siblings get affected by the FAFSA use of the older children with college?
Okay, that's a good question. So in case anyone didn't hear, the general gist of the question is, will younger siblings get affected by the older sibling being in college? One of the questions that they will request in the FAFSA is how many people in the household are attending college. So maybe someone's finances could maybe afford one person, but if you have, like some families have twins, or I've seen families with triplets, between mortgage and everything, do you have an extra 40, 50,000 to do that? So I wouldn't say that it affects it like a negative. They will just take into consideration, out of this pot of money that this household has, what is the reasonable amount that they can afford to pay towards their their child's education. So will it affect the calculation? Absolutely. But what the exact amount would be, that I don't know. Okay? So if the tuition aid grant, for all of these things, you have to file the FAFSA or the New Jersey Alternative Financial Aid application, which I will discuss a little later. For this particular grant, you do have to demonstrate financial need. You must be a U.S. citizen, an eligible non-citizen, or a New Jersey Dreamer, and you must be a New Jersey resident. So when we're talking about New Jersey residents, you have to have lived in New Jersey for 365 days, minimum, okay? And you have to attend a New Jersey institution. So all of these scholarships and grants that I'm speaking of from the state of New Jersey, if you're going to Pennsylvania, if you're going to New York, I spoke to a family, their child is going to Hawaii, lucky her, right, for college based on her particular major. She can't take her her money from New Jersey with her. The federal money, that can go with her to Hawaii because it's part of the United States of America. But if it's New Jersey funds, it has to stay in New Jersey. And it must be full-time and an improved degree program. So many people are like, what do you mean approved program? You want to make sure the school is accredited. I'm sure we've heard even I think recently the Department of Education forgave more loans for certain groups of people because they went to the school and the school went bust. It's no longer in existence. It just disappeared. So they're like, this isn't fair to these people to have loans to a school that is no longer in existence. So you want to make sure that the institution that you're going to is accredited and that they are approved to receive federal and state monies. So with the tuition aid grant, you can, for the county colleges, you can go part-time, and part-time is anything less than 11 credits, between 6 and 11 credits. We also have the Eof Grant. That the award is between $200 and $2,750 annually. Again, for this, you must show some educational and economic disadvantage in your background. File the FAFSA. We have the Governor's Urban Scholarship. Some of these scholarships are based on your ranking in your school. So at the end of junior year, if you're in the top 5% of your class, you have a 3.8 GPA, again, going to a New Jersey school, you've completed the FAFSA, you might be eligible for this particular scholarship. New Jersey Stars, this has been around for a while, but with New Jersey Stars, the ranking is that you have to be in the top 15% of your class at the end of your junior or senior year. And what happens is that when you go to the community college, so this is particularly for the community college New Jersey Stars, you have to be in the top 15% junior or senior year. You go to the community college, you have to maintain a 3.0 GPA. And what happens is then when you're ready to graduate from the community college and transfer to the four-year college, then you will participate in New Jersey Stars 2, which is for the four-year college. And for that, if you receive funding for New Jersey Stars and your family makes less than $250,000, you still remain eligible, and you have to maintain a 3.25 GPA, and you can receive up to $2,500 annually. For students who are interested in vocation, for women and minorities, they're giving up to $2,000 per year for if you're interested in attending a vocational school. And if the family makes less than $60,000 for their income, you could be possibly eligible for this. You're hearing a lot about green energy and technology, so the vocational is, there's a lot more focus on that. So they want to make sure students have some funding if they are interested in pursuing that. The Ccog Grant. This is for if a family has an annual income of less than $65,000. With this particular grant, tuition and fees are covered. Okay? So if a family makes less than $65,000 a year and they go to the community college, with this particular grant, tuition and approved fees are covered. So this is an opportunity that a lot of families are very happy about if they fall into this particular population. So you have to take a minimum of 6 credits. Of course, they're going to check on your academic progress, and that will remain with you throughout that particular part of your journey. So for the students who are graduating in June, this is hot off the press. It doesn't apply to anyone else, but it's starting in fall 2022. So our graduates are graduating in June, and they'll be starting college in fall 2022. What's going to happen is starting in fall 22, if a family makes, again, less than $65,000, tuition and fees are free. Okay, approved fees are free. However, if a family makes more than $65,000, they're not putting that hardcore cutoff where you're not eligible at all anymore. They're now doing it on a sliding scale. So you may not be qualified for free because you're making over $65,000, but they would adjust and calculate it based on your family's income. Okay? So this is something that's people are very excited about. And I don't know if you see that the term called guarantee, right? If you look at the 4th bullet, they're guaranteeing the pricing structure for all students throughout their academic program. The one word you hear every day is inflation. You turn on the news for 2 minutes, right? You hear inflation, right? So what they're doing is they're guaranteeing the pricing for you, for your tuition, for your child going to the community college. So you have to file your FAFSA, you have to make satisfactory academic progress. Yes?
Guaranteed pricing, is that going to apply for the 2-year and or the 4-year?
We're gonna hit on this right now. Give me 2 slides and then I'll make sure, I'll start clicking together. Okay? So what's gonna happen is that the student will complete the first 2 years at the community college. They would get their associate's degree with the 3+1 degree completion program. And what would happen is that you would pay the community college tuition fee that first and second year, right? And now your 3rd year, which is now you're working on your bachelor's degree, you would still be paying the tuition of your community college. So let's just do an estimate of a community college might cost $6,000 for a year versus a Rutgers might be $25,000, $30,000 a year. So you would pay the $6,000, you know, we're estimating your freshman year, your sophomore year, your junior year. Those 3 are going to be guaranteed. This doesn't matter what the real price, I'm sure, you know, for new people coming in, the price might be higher, but whatever price you came in at your freshman year would be guaranteed for the freshman, sophomore, and junior. Okay? And then what would happen is that 4th year, your senior year, then you would bump up to whatever the price is. So for the 3 of the 4 years, you're the same, and then that last year, reality will set in, and you would have to pay whatever the cost is. Was that clear? Yes, good, okay. So this is something that is now an offering to you. And what's good about this is that if you are still eligible for the tags or New Jersey Stars, you're still eligible. No one's going to be taking that money away from you. So it's not an either or. Sometimes families are eligible for more than one grant, and they just keep adding that money towards your tuition. Okay? Yes?
So when you complete the FAFSA,
Mm-hmm.
the FAFSA looks at what you qualify for and lets you know, or do we have to do something to initiate being considered for a program like this?
The FAFSA kicks everything off. Yes, the FAFSA basically is you providing all your financial information for your household. That is then sent to the state of New Jersey and all the institutions that you list on your FAFSA. And then those institutions will start reaching out to you with your award letter and say, you know, based on this is what you're eligible for. Okay? Yes?
The colleges start reaching out to you, this is after, I'm assuming, they like get their acceptance to schools, right?
Well, no, some people have done their FAFSA already, right? You know, so it will, you're not going to probably get this information back till like next year, depending, like some places like Rutgers, December 1st is their deadline for early decision, I believe. So each school is different. One of the things I would say to you, this is the best time to get organized over Thanksgiving and with Christmas coming up. You know, Excel spreadsheets, all you need to do because each school is different. So you want to see when each school is going to start responding back to you with their information so that you can start making your decisions.
Let me understand. Once you do the FAFSA, and let's say you have 3 colleges listed, they could let you know before you even apply what you will be eligible for.
No, that's what I'm saying. You have to see when their deadlines are to apply. Some places like Rutgers is literally next month, 2 weeks from now, right? Others might have rolling admissions till March or April. So it's not like a clear cut, it's specific for each school. So what I would say to you is if you have an admissions deadline of December 1st, I would want all my information in by then so nothing's missing, because some people don't make a decision till they have literally everything. So you really want to make sure that you know your deadlines for each of the schools and get that information out. But you will most people apply to a lot of schools. They might list a lot of people, a lot of names on their FAFSA, but it doesn't always mean that they apply to them. So the schools that you apply to, once you get into their system, you will have like a portal where you can access your financial information, where they will communicate with you and let you know if they need more information or when things will be available. Okay? So they're not going to just randomly reach out, that you do have to apply. Yes?
Sorry, what happens if you did your FAFSA, you list the schools, and then they apply to other schools that weren't on the FAFSA? Do you have to?
You can just, once you list the schools, make sure you submit your FAFSA so that information goes to them. Then you can always go back in the FAFSA, delete those schools, and then add some additional ones. Yeah. I'm sorry, yes.
With so many economic changes that have happened in the last year or so, what if your income has drastically changed from 2020 to 2020?
Okay, that's a great question. I was going to bring that up a little later, but it's good time to discuss that. The question, in case someone missed it, was what happens if your financial situation has drastically changed? Life happens. People get divorced. There's death in the family. Like more than ever, people lose jobs, right? That has been unfortunately the reality the past year and a half. So when you do your FAFSA, especially the people I'm speaking with right now, those who are graduating, you're going to be doing your FAFSA based on your 2020 taxes. A lot has changed or could have changed since you filed your taxes. So this is why it's very important, if anything significant has changed, that you communicate with the financial aid office and say, hey, when I filed my taxes for 2020, my life looked like this, but today it looks nothing like that. So you need to, that is a verbal communication or email or however they process, and most institutions will give you a separate form to have you fill it out and say, okay, what's happening today? So that they can calculate based on reality, not what happened months ago.
So the FAFSA application doesn't give you anywhere to explain that?
It's just numbers. There's no, so you want to reach out. I mean, usually if there's a red flag or something drastically changed, like they'll reach out and say, what happened? Is there some discrepancy?
You have to reach out to each school's financial aid office.
Yes, and just let them know what's going on. Okay, was that a good, did you?
Yeah, no, that was very good.
Okay.
So we did the FAFSA, then my daughter applies to the school. When they reach out to us with whatever they are going to present to us, that's when we would let them know about our financial.
You can, this is a new relationship you're forming, so you're free to call them too. You don't want to be, how do I say the word? Assertive. I'm not, you just want to make sure, because there are thousands of people applying, right? And so you just want to see, never hurts to send an email, to call. They realize that this is a busy time, people have questions. So you never feel hesitant to reach out and pose a question and get information that's needed. So that, again, I'm big on making informed decisions. And I like to make decisions based on as much information as I can get. So it doesn't hurt to reach out and let them know, and it could save you a headache a few months later. Okay? Yes, and then I'll pause and keep going. Yes.
The Garden State Guarantee, that's just if you go into in-state school?
These are all New Jersey funds, so this has to be for New Jersey.
All right, so because I was told, like, if you're going to like an out-of-state school and one school gives you more money than the other, are they negotiable in saying, well, I can't afford this, what more can you do? Do you find
The state monies, that there's no negotiation there. Yeah, it has to stay inside the state of New Jersey. The federal monies, you can go, but not the state funds. Okay? Okay, so I'll take this last question and then I'm going to keep going for a little bit. Yes? I'm sorry, it's,
So following up with the question that she just asked, is there any scholarships available for out-of-state students, or will you just have to contact the schools that they want?
you contact the schools, or there are a lot of websites that are available. Back in the day, I'm a lot older than you, we had those big books in the library that you could go and take out. But I'm sure they still have them. But if you go online, like FastWeb, College Board, just Google, scholarships. And there are a lot of websites out there that you can get scholarships from.
Our guidance counselor.
And
Your individual guidance counselor.
your guidance counselor. Yeah, as I said, I got the Women's Guild. It was just hanging on the door. It's more sophisticated now, but there's a lot of information. There are a lot of scholarships out there, and you'll be surprised the amount of people who don't apply because you have to maybe do a essay, and some people don't want to take the time to do that, so they're out there. You just have to do your research. Okay, so I saw someone's hand. Who was that?
I was just going to suggest
Uh-huh.
calling the college and speaking to admissions because that's where I got most of my information.
Yeah, and nowadays the websites are so, they try to do like question and answer sections and so on. So if you go on tours or whatever, they do try to make sure to answer those questions. But yes, admissions. Okay, so we're going to talk about loans, okay? The reality is that some families do have to take loans out. Excuse me. So, we realize that not everybody wants to take a loan out. So they actually have monthly payment plans. Excuse me. Where you can make a payment to the school directly versus taking out a loan. And right now, these are the loans available at the federal level. Does anyone know the difference between subsidized and unsubsidized? Do a little quiz. Subsidized versus unsubsidized. Don't worry about being wrong. We're all learning. Anyone want to take a guess? Subsidized versus unsubsidized?
It's about interest.
Yes, who said that? Thank you very much. Okay, beautiful. Subsidized and unsubsidized has to do with the interest. If it's subsidized, the government eats the interest. They're like, don't worry about it. I lent you $5,000, pay me back $5,000. We're good. If it's unsubsidized, you're going to start from the moment you sign that dotted line, you start accruing interest. Is everyone clear? Okay, beautiful. So I want to make sure you know, because when they give you your options, you want to make sure you understand what you're signing up for. So I'll give you a moment. Right now, these are the loan options for the state of New Jersey. As of right now, it might change, but right now, these are the percentages. And again, going back to the question about scholarships. Scholarships can be based on academics, your SATs for the juniors. Sometimes you get scholarships based, or the 10th graders if you have younger siblings. In 10th grade based on the PSATs, sometimes there's some scholarships available. For parents who went to college, check with your institution. Recently they have these legacy scholarships, so that if your child goes to the college that you went to, it's a legacy, it's another generation coming, they extend additional funding sometimes to that child. Okay, so you want to check out, there are a lot of different avenues out there. And then also, like I said, there's some websites. You have College Board, I believe they do have an area with scholarships. But these three websites are the main three websites that you need to know about in the FAFSA world. You have studentaid.gov, that's where you're going to go to actually fill out your FAFSA. And then you have the studentcollegeboard.org. We'll talk about the CSS Profile in a little bit. And then HISA.org, which is the state organization. So the CSS Profile. This is something in addition. I want to make sure that's clear. In addition to the FAFSA, but you need to make sure that your institution needs it or requires it. If it's not required, I would not volunteer more of my information than is needed. So some institutions are requiring that the students complete the CSS profile in addition to the FAFSA for them to decide how to give out their personal funds. So when you think about some we've all heard about institutions having endowments, right? Being left money by certain families or so on. So this allows the institutions to decide eligibility of their personal funds. This is not state funds, this is not federal funds, this is their personal institutional funds. So again, it may be required, but that's where you have to do your research and your due diligence to see if that's necessary for the school that you're going to or your child is going to. Okay? This is the website for CSS Profile, and if you're interested, that is their direct customer service number. So I'll leave that up for a couple of seconds. Okay, so the application, October 1st is big in FAFSA world. October 1st, every single year, is the first day that you can do your FAFSA. It doesn't matter what day it falls on. October 1st is FAFSA, that's the beginning of the FAFSA cycle. So basically, again, it collects your family's information, financial and personal information, to decide your expected family contribution. So basically, they're just trying to calculate to see how much they feel that you can pay out of pocket towards education, whether it's none or whether it's a certain amount. You can do your FAFSA on your phone, on a tablet, on the computer, and you also have something called the Irs Retrieval tool. Just to explain what that is, with the Irs Retrieval tool, as I said before, you have to provide information from your 2020 tax returns. With the Irs Data Retrieval tool, as you're doing your FAFSA, if you so choose, it's optional, you don't have to use it, but they give you the option of having the IRS send your tax return information and plug it in directly into your FAFSA for you, okay? It's not, you have to grant permission. They're not gonna just do it automatically, but it's basically one federal agency sending your information directly to the FAFSA. That information does not complete the entire FAFSA, but it does fill in a good chunk of it. So again, that is optional. Right now, the only people who cannot use the Irs Data Retrieval tool are those if you're married, but you file separately. Right now, that is not an option. And if for any reason you had to amend your tax returns, right now, the use of the data retrieval tool is not an option either. So parents, you have to create a FAFSA ID, which is your federal student aid ID, and your child, the student, has to create ID. So parents need to create one, the student needs to create one. Basically, that is your electronic signature. So parents say, well, which of us should make one? Both of you can create a FAFSA ID, okay? That's totally up to you. Only one parent needs to sign it, but both parents should create the FAFSA ID. And your children are gonna be coming to you until they turn 24 every single year to do this, okay? So yes, they turn, legally they're adults at 18, but most 18-year-olds are not financially responsible for themselves, right? So when it comes to financial aid, they have the expectation that they're going to be getting their parents' information until that time. Yes?
So, like, for example, if I want to go like out of state school, then I would be kind of an individual, like I'd be alone. I wouldn't be financially dependent on my parents. What happens then?
That doesn't, you're still, a lot of students don't still live at home for college, but they still, parents are still submitting their information. If there are extenuating circumstances where that is not a viable option where you can get your parents' information, that's something you would have to really speak about with the school. So for instance, even working with students over the years, I've had students who, if you had a legal guardian at any point, you don't need to submit the legal guardian's information. You're considered independent, but you would have to work with the school to prove that you are independent and that information cannot be obtained. So sometimes I've had to write letters for some of my students, or work with the guidance counselor to say like something. I've had families maybe who were incarcerated, or, we know life can be complicated sometimes, right? They realize that. It would just have to be a discussion, and they might request some additional information, okay?
Question here?
Yes.
So, academics, scholarships, what would be a good source to find them, online?
I know there's fastweb.com, but FastWeb, that was one. As I said, College Board, but I just really encourage you, just literally go to Google, right? And just put college scholarships and then just start, or as you said with the guidance counselors.
Individual
Yeah,
guidance.
the guidance counselor my daughter hasn't been too helpful.
Oh,
The guidance counselor for friends, for example, and, that's one of the reasons I'm here.
Should you go to Woodbridge? If you go to the Woodbridge website, the school website tab in Woodbridge High School, you go under guidance, there's a scholarships tab with all the scholarships.
I'll talk to you after. Thank you.
well, thank you for that. So it was shared that on the website for Woodbridge, there's a scholarship tab that you can access some information. So again, parents need to create an ID, and students. Just reiterating the data retrieval tool, you have, if you're married, file separately or have amended tax returns. As of now, that is not a viable option. Yes.
So on the FAFSA, my son did his account last week, my husband did his account. Do I have to do one too? Or because we filed jointly, it just goes under him?
That's totally up to you. There's no right or wrong. Like when you're doing the FAFSA, dad might not be around and you want to sign it. So some families,
But if it's under him, it'll take our joint income.
yes, it's going to be traced to his Social Security. So
Where does the data retrieval tool come in? We have to allow FAFSA to use the data retrieval tool?
yes, you have to give permission. You're going to have to submit your Fafsa ID to say, I literally give permission for the IRS to,
Is that easier? Because if you don't use that, then what?
you do it manually.
It's so easy.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, click done.
Yeah, you do it, you would have to literally do it manually. So again, we've talked about this, 2020 tax returns will be used. And you have to have a valid Social Security number. So I've seen this over the years where, students think their Social Security number is one thing. Please, if you're not 100% sure, wait till you get home, get the card out, and make sure it's inputted. And again, making sure it's an eligible program of study. And then also make sure that the student is putting in the right degree. They're all excited that they're going to be working towards their master's in nursing. They're thinking long-term goal. So when they're doing their FAFSA now and it says, what degree are you working on? They put they're working on their master's degree. No. We're going to get there eventually, but they want to know the degree you're working on for fall 2022. So that will either be your associate's degree or your bachelor's degree. Unless we have a Doogie Howser or something going on, no one should be working on their master's or doctoral or their PhD or MD pro. The younger ones don't know who I'm talking about, but thank you for those who know who I'm talking about. Doogie Howser. Okay, so the FAFSA, the main components, the full name. Again, make sure you're writing the full name. If you are a junior, everyone calls you junior, but on your Social Security card, you are not junior. Please don't put it in there, okay? It's literally your government Social Security name. Because when we do those errors, is it fixable? Yeah, but it's a lot of back and forth with FAFSA trying to prove that you are who you really are. So your Social Security number, your date of birth, Students, they will be asking about your income, so even if you didn't file taxes, which most students don't, if you had a summer job, you want to get that W-2 form out so that you know how much money you made. And parents are also going to be requesting your basic demographic information.
Wait, can you go back to that real quick? So if they work, but they didn't do taxes, do they still have to put it on the FAFSA?
It's their income, yes, student income and assets. They want to know how much money was brought into the household. Yeah, so student income is calculated also. Yes?
I reset the question.
One thing they're FAFSA, they're going to request that you answer the question honestly and accurately, and that will be my response. Okay? So the household size, that's the number of people in your household. Again, knowing that each family is uniquely different, you might have a parent living with you, or you might have a family member that's not your biological child, but you're raising them. So when we're talking about the number of people in the household, it's the number of people that you are financially providing more than half of their care for them, more than 50% of their financial, sustenance in your household. As was requested earlier, inquiry earlier about number of people in college, they will want to know if there are any siblings in college, so this is where you would list that. Yes?
I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard that if your older sibling loves, if you do bad on your grades in college, your basketball get taken away, or your financial aid get taken away. If that happens to that,
That has nothing to do with, this is strictly financial. And that would be cruel to penalize someone for someone else's, progress, So that, I haven't heard that one before, but that's not true, okay? So parents, they're gonna want to know your income. Again, the Irs Data Retrieval tool, income earned from work. As we talked about earlier, if you become a dislocated worker, if you lost your job, you need to let the institutions know that there's been a great change in circumstances and finances. For if you receive any Medicaid, SSI, SNAP, free or reduced lunch, there will be questions about that. And again, like I shared earlier, you can list up to 10 colleges at a time, but once you submit them, you can always go back in and add more. There's no limit to how many you can add. Just make sure you submitted them first before you delete and add more. So this is where everyone gets really excited, right? You're pulling your hair out, you're like, oh my gosh, we're done. I'm so ready to just relax. And what happens is they see congratulations students and they're just ready to exit and move on. But this is really important because at this part, this is where you see start state application. You finish the federal application, but now you need to continue the state application. And I saw a parent who raised their hand that they had twins. If you have additional siblings, instead of starting the FAFSA all over again, you can simply click, or like the young lady in the back, if you had younger siblings who were going to college with you at the same time, you would just simply click that you had a brother or sister who needs to complete the FAFSA. So instead of starting all over again, the information is just transferred to that other person. Okay? So please make sure that you do that. So this is where you want to click on Start Your State Application, and then that will send you to the HESA website. So again, just common mistakes. Make sure your name matches what's on your Social Security card. Sometimes we'll have parents and students. You want to make sure that you read the heading on each of the screens. So I've seen a student making $60,000 and the parents made $0 in 2020 because they put their information in the wrong section, okay? So make sure that you're filling out, that you look to see whose information is being requested. So the number of people in the household, divorce versus divorce/remarried households. If you are divorced and you have remarried, the step parents' finances need to be included in the FAFSA because, again, it's part of the income that's coming into that household. So you want to make sure that if there's a step parent, and even they're now, even if you're not married, if you're living together, they want to know the overall family income.
I filled it out, and then I had to go back in because we didn't do the electronic signature for my sons. And when I went back in, it told me that there was no record of the 2022-23 form, so apparently I filled out the 21-22 form. So why did it allow me to do that? And do I have to change it?
Oh, yeah, because you can still, it's still 2021-22. So we're still in that particular school year.
So that's what we should be completing for fall of 2022?
Yeah, your students are, if I'm speaking to those graduating as seniors, your child is not graduating till June 2022. So they're not starting college till fall of 2022. So that's that 2022-2023 school year.
So that's the one we're filling out?
Yes, because
I don't even remember seeing an option. I just started filling it out, and then, like I said, I went back and I'm like, what? I filled out the wrong one? And now is all that just gonna transfer? Even I just did it last week?
you'll have to go back to the 22 and fill, some of the basic, like your demographics will be there. I'm not sure how much will be, you might have to give.
So on the FAFSA, there is a thing to pick for 2022?
Just hold on one second. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I finished with her. You just want to make sure that the Irs Retrieval tool, I'm not sure if that's going to happen automatically. You might need to give them permission again. Okay. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
So do we, on the FAFSA, what do you pick? You pick 2022, 23?
Yes.
But where do you pick that?
When you go into the login, you should see the different options. Yeah, because remember, your students are still high schoolers.
Okay.
Right now, we are in the 2021-22 school year. So right now, they're not college students. So this is after they graduate high school. Yes?
Once you finish the FAFSA, it, like you said, directed you to HESA. That you have to wait for that information from FAFSA in order to fill out the HESA, because I didn't see anything once I got in there.
You can create your login for NJFAMS, and it might take a few days for it to populate, but at least you can start creating your account.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So, again, we talked about the grade level. They're going to want to know parent and student assets. As of now, you cannot skip the gender question. You do have to provide your gender for the FAFSA. Okay. So one thing that I want you to know about is something called verification. It does happen on occasion, and it's not something that I want to talk about it because I don't want you to be overly concerned if you get selected for verification. You have to realize that students are dealing with tens of millions of dollars that they're getting from the state and federal level that they are responsible for, that they're going to be audited and checked on possibly of how they dispersed it. So what happens is that they will randomly pick a small selection of families, and they'll just say, you know what, we got this information from you, but we just need a little bit more to confirm. So say you received Social Security or disability. They might request the paperwork from the state or whoever that shows how much money you're getting on a monthly basis. Or they might request a bank information. I don't know what they might request, but they have the right or the discretion to request additional information just to confirm that the information provided is correct. With that being said, one of the benefits of using the Irs Data Retrieval tool, I'm not going to use the word guarantee, I can't use the word guarantee, but it reduces the likelihood of verification because the IRS said this is what was sent to us and we're putting it in the FAFSA. So there's a less likelihood of there being a, oops, I put an extra zero, oops, I left an extra zero off. It's more accurate. But again, I can't guarantee that using the Irs Data Retrieval tool will eliminate completely the chance that you could get picked for verification. So again, if you are called for verification, that's why it's occurring. So just talking about New Jersey Dreamers, as we talked about, the eligibility requirement is that you should have a social security number. So as of today, if you do not have a social security number, or if you're not an eligible non-citizen, you are not eligible for federal funds. However, the state of New Jersey has made it available where you can get state funding, and that falls under the heading of New Jersey Dreamers. So if a student has attended a college in New Jersey for more than 3 years, they're graduating from a New Jersey school. For all the males, if you are 18 and over, you are required to sign up for selective service. Okay, I use the word required. You cannot get financial aid if you don't sign up for selective service as a male. So if right now you're 17, don't worry about it. But once you turn 18, you want to make sure that you sign up for selective service. No, you are not joining the military. No, you are not signing up to join the military, but they do want to know that you have reached the legal age of 18 and that you are male. I have had families recently ask, well, what about the females? Because there has been some discussion about possibly draft for females. That is not legislated, so as of right now, it's only males for selective service. So once you finish the FAFSA, the state application, the portal is called New Jersey FAMS. So this is the portal that you would need to go to complete your state application. And once you get there, you're going to basically create, so you're going to create another portal. You're going to complete the registration for this. And this will take you to New Jersey FAMS. And as I shared, after a few days, once they get the information from the federal government, they will give you a to-do list of what you need to do for the state of New Jersey to see your eligibility with the state. So when we're talking about a cost of attendance, I want to make sure that you know what we're talking about. We're talking about tuitions and fees, room and board, books, loans, study abroad, if you maybe need to dependent care, if you need, or expenses related to disability, and unexpected costs. Sometimes students, after they take the placement test, might realize they need to take a remedial class in math or English to kind of get ready for the college level. Students change their major, and then we have to take extra classes to get back on track with what their new major is. They might not like the school and decide they want to transfer somewhere else. And they decide they want to do an internship, but they're not going to be paid for 6 months to do the internship. So there are these costs that are not right in your face, but you need to think about them in the back of your mind in case they do come up. And moving expenses, as we saw last year, because of the pandemic, some students had to leave right in the middle of their semester and go back home with, suddenly. And unfortunately, life happens. There might be a family emergency or something where they need to come back. So you want to make sure that you put those costs into the unexpected area. So when it comes to the expected family contribution, again, this is the amount of money that, based on the calculation of your financial information, that the financial aid office deems that you're able to contribute towards education. So we're going to look at this is just an example. So we're going to look at the Smith family, and they are a family that lives in New Jersey. They're married, both parents are 52. There are 4 people in the household, and one child is going to college. And on their 2020 tax returns, they had an adjusted family income, gross income, of $120,000. And they listed that they had $20,000 in assets, whether maybe that was in their bank account. They will want to know how much money is in your bank account. And the student income assets was 0. So for the Smith family, their estimated family contribution that they estimated that this family can contribute out of pocket is $20,830. So looking at the cost of attendance, COA, EFC, the estimated family contribution, and the last row, financial need, going to a community college, which is about $5,600 for the school year, and the estimated family contribution of $20,000. If the Smith family decides to go to a community college, based on this, they would get no money, okay? Because they're saying you have $20,000 in assets, you can pay that $5,600, $5,800 yourself. At a state college or university where the cost of attendance is $25,000, the estimated family contribution for the Smith family is $20,000. It would be estimated that they would receive about $4,700 to assist towards the education cost for that year. At a private university where the cost of attendance is about guesstimated or estimated to be $45,000, they would receive $24,846. Okay?
That's per year, right?
Excuse me, per year.
The assets.
Mm-hmm. That's per year.
Do they check the assets? Or is that only through that CC something or other for certain institutions?
On the FAFSA, you have to provide your assets.
I understand, but do they verify?
Well, I don't know if you get picked for verification.
What would you consider assets? Like?
Your bank account, if you have stocks,
How about pension?
not your pension, stocks, and so on. Okay?
How about all your debts?
So, I'm sorry?
Your house.
Your house, that's a great question. The house that you live in is not an asset. They don't count that towards an asset. If you have additional properties or rentals, that would be an asset. Your car is not an asset, okay? So the house that you live in on a daily basis, you don't want to put that in as an asset. Your car, you don't want to put in an asset. But if you have a second home or so on, yes, those would be assets. So when it comes to the cycle of financial aid, again, October 1st is the day that you can start doing your FAFSA every year. So between October and March, that's when you start doing your FAFSA, doing your research on college search, your Css profile if needed. And this is just an estimate. Again, you want to really look at the college's websites, as someone said, admission website, or call to see when their unique deadline. Each institution is vastly different. So you really want to pay attention to what process each school is following. So in February or May, that's when they approximately start sending out their award letters. And in June and July, the fall semester bill will come out. Students, please know the bill will be in your name. Yes, your parents are providing their information, but it's your education, so the bill would be in your name. The financial aid will be, everything will be addressed to you, okay, from HISA and so on. So this is why it's very important, if you're maybe not one of those people who check your email every day, you really want to start getting into the habit of doing so, because important documentation is coming to you with deadlines, and they're very strict with those deadlines. So you don't want to miss something because you didn't check your email or didn't open up the letter that came to the house. So just to be mindful of that. Yes?
What role would the 529 play in all of this in terms of listing of assets?
That depends on who owns the 529. It could be a grandparent who owns it. So it depends. If it's yours, yeah. So that they will ask that information. Because that's going towards how much money you have for school. Yes. So the 529, they will want to know if there's monies available. Okay, so where do you go from here? Your to-do list. Okay. We're in the home stretch, ladies and gentlemen. You're doing very well. Okay? So again, get that
I'm sorry. Just real quick with the FAFSA, you said October 1st, right?
Yes.
If our students are entering fall 2022, we would have to fill it out again right after they just got in?
You're doing it now.
Yeah, so we did it now, right?
Right.
And then when they get to school fall 2022, we gotta do it again October.
Yeah, you're going to be doing this every year until they graduate, until they turn 24. Yeah. Okay. So you should just start again. I can't tell you enough. You just need to get yourself organized because it starts like as you're juggling balls, it can be a little overwhelming. So if you can at least have one little cheat sheet that has everything listed, or I don't know if you have Navion or.
Navion.
Yes. So the schools even have the fancy technology to help you keep. So I would say is use the resources that you have. You really don't want to be guessing on when something is due and then realize you missed a deadline. I have had students miss a whole semester or a whole year of financial aid because they missed the deadline when they should have completed it. I feel bad for them. I don't like seeing the tears, but the state and the federal government, they have deadlines. There are millions of people that they're processing. So you really don't want to make, these errors can be very costly. So please make sure that you're organized. Yes.
I got 3 questions. So one question is, a friend of mine told me that she does her son just started going to college, and when he was going, they offered the family something called a loan plus, where it's that the loan is the parent does the loan.
Mm-hmm.
So is that a recommended or?
It depends on each person's situation. So the Parent Plus loan that you're talking about, sometimes after they go through all the eligibility, there might be that shortfall. There might be still a gap outstanding where parents then decide to take a loan from the government or through their private bank, or as I shared, some parents pay the school directly in a monthly payment plan. So that has to be a personal decision for that family if they decide to go that route.
If there's any type of loan forgiveness because it's in the parent's name, it wouldn't apply to the child.
If it's in the parent's name, that has nothing to do with the Parent Plus loan is strictly parents.
Okay, and then in regards to the subsidized and unsubsidized, would you get a letter that says this much is subsidized and
Yes.
this much is unsubsidized?
Yes, on the award letter, they list everything.
And can you say, I want the subsidized but not the unsubsidized?
Yes, the award letter is an offer. It's like, if we've all applied for jobs and they give you a job offer, and then you have that chance to say thank you, or you say, you know what, something else came along, or I changed my mind. That award letter is just an offering of what you are eligible for, and you decide what you're going to. No one's going to force a loan on you or anything on you.
Right, but
Yeah.
can you pick one part of it?
That's what I'm saying. Yes, you can decide which from the offering that you're going to choose.
Okay.
Yes.
And then my last question, I'll be quick.
Uh-huh.
In regards to New Jersey stars, my daughter's counselor said it's all dependent on her ranking junior year, but I thought I heard you say junior or senior year.
I believe for that it was, I believe,
I think it's both.
I think it was both, yes.
I think it's junior and senior year. Yeah, it's the last 2 years of academic. I'm pretty sure that's right.
End of junior or senior year.
I think it's both.
But then that ranking wouldn't be determined till June.
Yes, but some people want that if they didn't get it junior year, but it went up, they would want it till junior year. Senior year.
So wouldn't that be too late then, or?
It's not too late, it's less time, but as soon as that, the ranking is given, some schools send it, I don't know how Woodbridge does it, some schools send it automatically to the state. That was something you would have to speak with the guidance counselor about. But that information would be passed on to the college. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to just finish because I know some people might want to leave right after. So let me finish the and then for those who want to leave, because I don't want to feel like I'm holding people hostage. So let me finish, and then I'll be more than happy to stay and answer questions, but then those who need to leave or want to leave will also have that option. Okay. Okay, so we're on our to-do list. The Css Profile, again, if it's not required, I would not volunteer more of my financial information that is necessary. When it comes to deadlines, your students are all brand new, so they'll have until September 15th of 2022 to complete their state information. But after that, April 15th, which all of us are very familiar with, is the deadline when their state information should be completed. Okay? They give a little more leeway for the freshmen. It's overwhelming, it's a lot of information, but after that, April 15th is the deadline. So again, other resources, outside scholarship, we talked about payment plans, campus employment. If you went on any college tours or visits, those young people who gave you the tour, they were working, they were getting paid for it, right? And they might have had some nice gear on them that they were provided too. So even in our office, we have about 4 or 5 student workers that work in our office. So most of the time, guess what they're doing? They're studying. I don't know of any other job, whether it's fast food or so on, where you can sit for your whole shift and do what? Just study. So of course, if we need assistance, we'll get it, but we know that they're student workers, right? What's the first word? They're students. So they're getting paid, it's coming out of their package. So even when you do the FAFSA where it says, are you interested in work study? You want to say yes to see if they're eligible. Because if you're eligible for work study, you will basically get paid from monies from the federal government. They will pay your salary. So, and then also some specialized campus opportunities hats off to them. They're the frontline workers. The unsung heroes are the residential advisors. Basically, they're the ones who run the dorms and make sure the students are safe. And in exchange for that very hard job that they do, they get free room and board. So that is something they work for it, trust me, but that's a nice thing where their room, and board is covered because they're doing that particular job. And the gentleman had asked about scholarships. You'll have access to besides the Woodbridge website, this will be in the presentation. About the New Jersey Best Savings Plan, please, every time I bring out this slide, parents get upset. This is not the 529 plan that we were talking about, okay? This is the New Jersey Best College Saving Plan. So when I mentioned that it can only be used in New Jersey, parents are like, that's not what I paid for. We're not talking about the general 529. This is the New Jersey College Savings Plan. So for this particular savings plan, it's a scholarship ranging from $500 to $3,000 that has to be used, again, for a New Jersey institution. So in closing, this is the direct number for HESA. I would say when it comes to specific questions about your household, you want to call HESA because when you call them, they bring up your application. So they're looking at the information that you put into your FAFSA. I can only give like generic information and responses, and when you want specificities for what's going on in your household, you want to make sure that you talk to the representative who can pull up your information. So I'll just read out the number in case it's hard to see in the back. It's 609-584-4480. 609-584-4480. Okay, so we made it. I just wanted to make sure, in case people needed to leave, that they got everything.